Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob Ent podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. Handling some business real quick. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, tell any and everybody about the podcast. We're trying to be here for a good time and a long time. I'm Tone, Mr. Still Not Worried, your host, joined by my fellow co-host Miles. Greg, how y'all doing?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Can't complain.
All smiles over here.
Stop.
Hey, we got a jam-packed episode for y'all tonight, man. We're gonna be talking about everything from what makes a player generational. We talking NBA, NFL. We're gonna break down what makes them generational, players that are generational, and some that should have been generational, but for whatever reason, it did not happen. Travis Hunter, his draft stock, Jason Tatum, he thinks he should be the face of the league. We'll talk about the face of the league conversation and why Jason Tatum isn't in most of those conversations. LeBron is 40 years old, playing like some would say top three, top two candidate for MVP. We're going to touch on that, this historic season that he's been having. And of course, it's NFL offseason. So it's been moves happening. Debo traded, DK Metcalf requesting a trade. Whole bunch of NFL movement happening on. We'll try to get as much of it compacted into this one episode for y'all. If not, we'll touch on it next week's episode. Looking at this year coming in, we got the NFL draft coming up, NBA draft coming up. We have greats in the league such as LeBron and the Kevin Durant's and the Steph Currys of the world. And we always have the conversation, and sometimes I believe it's kind of thrown around too loosely of this is a generational player. This is a generational talent. In your eyes, how would you define a generational talent?
I think it's someone who changed the way the sport is played, whether that's Curry and he changed the league and made it more three-pointer centric. You need that in this generation. I feel like Magic changed the game with the fast-paced way of playing back in the day. But it gets thrown around way too much. Like it's a word that's been kind of watered down as the years have gone on. Like generational is supposed to be like once in a blue moon almost. Like LeBron generational. MJ probably generational, right? But you can have like guys like Caleb Williams coming into NFL. Oh, this is a generational talent. A couple years before that, Trevor Lawrence, generational talent. Uh, I feel like you can't do that. Like if they're these guys have to be able to come in, change the franchise almost from the jump. If we're talking about generational talents, like Jaden Daniels could be one of those generational talents when we talk, you know, down the line if things align like they should. But um, it's a fine line between like a great player and generational. There's tons of great players out there. Like you said, Kevin Durant, feel like he's a generational talent, greatest scorer of all time. LeBron, most versatile player I think of all time. Curry, I mean, you could keep going with some other guys. Like even Harden might be generational, changing the way that offenses were played at a time when, you know, he increased the scoring at that time. A little more ISO ball. Uh, some of the stuff he did, I don't celebrate like the foul baiting and all that stuff, but you know, he changed the game in that way too. So
Greg, we've touched this conversation at different points in the existence of this pod, but we've never really dived deep in it. How do you define a generational talent?
That's a tough question. I think generational and face of the league go hand in hand. I think they work together. I think you can kind of wrap the definitions of both together. And if you got a guy who was good enough to be the face of the league, you've got a generational player more often than not. Because you got to think about it. I think the way I would describe face of the league, and I know we got to go there, but and we're not quite there yet. But the way I would describe face of the league or generational player is the guy who was the clear-cut best player in the NBA for a substantial period of time, right? A substantial period of time. That's what I would say. So you were the clear-cut number one guy. You were the main attraction in the NBA. You were the guy everybody wanted to see. Any crunch time, more often than not, you answer the bell, right? You have those iconic moments, right, in crunch time, in the playoffs, right? Not just regular season, but in the playoffs. Um, and I would describe it. Obviously, guys who change the game. I mean, that you have your place in history as a generational player for sure. But I don't know that every single generational player has changed the game. That's kind of what I was thinking about as I was saying that, because I used to kind of feel the same way about it. But I'm like, I don't know that LeBron changed the way basketball is played. I think I think he's just so great that he's been able to adjust to every single time period he's been a part of, and he's been, the best player in every time period he's been a part of, like for the most part in his career. And he's had a sustained run of excellence and dominance in the NBA, especially in his prime, where he was unquestionably the best player in the NBA. Like there really was no question. Uh, so if you think about it, like over the course of your lifetime, right? Just our lifetime, not the entire span of the NBA, because we're not going to talk about no, Pistol Pete or whatever. But in the span of our lifetime, like you got to think about how many guys have been the number one best player in the NBA, clear cut. If you had to answer that question, it's not like a long list of guys. It's LeBron James. I do think Kobe had a stretch. I know some people disagree. I do think Kobe had a stretch where he was the best player in the NBA, and then in our lifetimes, I mean, I know Michael was fading as we into this thing, but you could count Michael if you want to count Michael Jordan. That's three guys, from like 1980 to now. And if you want to go back that far, then in 80 is too far. But if you want to go back to 80, then Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, those guys are also face of the league guys. That's not a long list. That's not a long list. It's a very exclusive club. And in the history of the NBA, you probably only got 12 guys, 12, 13 guys that have been like true faces of the league, true generational players. Like, so it's the elite of the elite. In fact, the Hall of Fame doesn't even do it justice, right? Like it's actually more of an elite club than being in the Hall of Fame, being a face of the league guy, being a generational talent. That's a more like prestigious thing to be considered that, as opposed to being a Hall of Famer. Draymond Green will be a Hall of Famer. Compared to the guys I'm talking about, Draymond Green's a McDonald's worker. It isn't the same. It's not the same quality of player. Does that mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, in all seriousness, and that was probably too much, but in all seriousness, that's how we gotta look at it. So I would say either you changed the game or you had a sustained run of excellence where you were the best player in the NBA and it was unquestioned. You were the main attraction. I think that's the way I would describe either one of those two things.
I think I will put it as a description when you talk about generational. Do you have something in your game that's pretty much unstoppable that you can't really game plan for? And obviously, I think you have to have the athletic side of like, all right, this is, for example, Bron, freak athlete. You can't game plan for that. You can't do nothing like that. Obviously, when you look at the NBA, NFL, everybody's athletic. So everybody's the most strongest, the most skilled. Well, not most skilled, but strong, fast, all of that good stuff. But what puts you in that conversation of generational is the ones that are able to put it together and produce winning. That's how I view generational. Because, for example, and y'all could go and let me know who comes to mind. Somebody that comes to mind to me that should have been and could have been generational is a person like T-Mac. Crazy athletic, couldn't really game plan for him, had the skill, but didn't win. Melo, one of the best scorers we've known, but could not win. Couldn't put it all together. Some of these players we've heard rumors and conversations of mentally it wasn't there. They didn't have the drive. They didn't have the hunger of the Kobe's, of the Jordans. Who comes to mind for you as those of players that we thought coming into it? Oh, they have all the makings of being somebody generational. I.e., for example, Andrew Wiggins. He has everything. He has everything. I don't think anybody was going to think he was generational, but he has all of the intangibles, measurements, athleticism to be great, but for whatever reason, he can't put it all together and consistently put it together.
I feel like Zion, that's one of those that comes to mind. Like coming out, seeing him at Duke, I'm like, this guy's gonna, he's different. He doesn't have a jump shot, but it almost doesn't really matter. Like he just dominates at his size. And it's like he does it in spurts. Like he's playing really well right now. And even when he made the All Star team, what 3 years ago, when he played a full season for once, that was what you expect. Like he had every time he's healthy, the Pelicans are sort of competitive. Like even what was that last year or 2 years ago, before he got hurt, they were like the second seed in the West at one point. So that kid is a special talent. It's just some things get in the way of him being able to show that talent on a night in and night out basis. Where now the Pelicans are afraid to have him play back to backs and all that stuff, and try to protect him health wise. I'm still rooting for the kid, and I still think he has a lot of his career is not over. It's just beginning, so he still has a chance. This is different than talking about like Joel Embiid, where I'm not gonna say it's cooked, it's GG's, but it's real close to that for him. So Zion's one of those that comes to mind. Who else is no? I don't even want to make Greg mad. Russ isn't. Russ isn't a generational talent, is he? No. Okay. Jokic, though. I know. I know. I just it popped in my head. I had to say it. I can hear you screaming on mute. Uh, Joker, I think, is a generational. I think he's shown that he can make his team better, um, and they've won championship, and they're always up there consistently. And when he's not out there with them, you can see the difference. Like he literally has to play almost 48 minutes for them to be really competitive in the Western Conference. So, and I mean, he's got the hardware to show for it. So, those would be two of the guys that come to mind. Although he showed it. That was not your question.
I think the obvious. There are two guys that come to mind that should have been generational players that aren't. Uh, Jason Tatum and Paul George. I think when you look at and I think they flashed. I think early in Jason Tatum's career and on those early Boston runs, specifically the year that Kyrie got hurt and they, rolled on to the Eastern Conference Finals and everything like that, and ran into LeBron. Uh, it looked like he was on track where he could have achieved that level of like generational status because he was such a gifted offensive player, could score at all three levels and defend a bit, and got better at defense as he got older. That it just made sense that he'd be the next face of the NBA, be the next generational type player that we had. I think the two things go hand in hand. So it never happened. It never happened. And Paul George is another guy. And I think Paul George's reasoning is a lot different. I just think, like I kind of look at Paul George, I look at T Mac, and no disrespect to T Mac, because T Mac was him, very very good, probably a better player in my opinion than Paul George, but the gifts are the same, right? And I think early on in Paul George's career, when he was attacking the rim and he was attacking fearlessly, getting to the free throw line, and then you add a jump shot and the ability to create off the bounce and play with that height and that size, yeah, like you had like a guy who's going to be a problem for a long time, and he sat down defensively. He was also another guy who did that too. The injury changed everything, and it changed his shot diet, and because of that, he's obviously not quite the same. So there's that. Jason Tatum's a bit different. Uh, it's mental. It's 100% mental. There was no injury. I fully believe that Jalen Brown's ascension, he kind of took a back seat to him, and he wanted to create a space for him to be the guy on that team as well, and to share that responsibility and to make sure he was happy. And I do think they took a step back because of that mentality. I do think so. I'm not encouraging selfishness, but it was never like it's never clearly been Jason Tatum's team. I don't care what anyone says. Like people say that, but it's never clearly been the case. I think as Jalen Brown's gotten better, there's nights where he's just flat out better than Jason Tatum, and I think there's a weird dynamic there. I think there's a weird dynamic there that affects his ability to continue to ascend on the same track we saw him on early in his career. So, yeah, I think those two guys are really good examples of that. I think we and there are other ones. There are other ones as well. I think, Malik Beasley, not Malik Beasley, Mike Beasley, Mike Beasley, really, really talented. Malik Beasley, whatever. Mike Beasley was extremely talented coming out of K State, right? And had all the tools in the world, could score with the best of them. Right now, I don't know about defensively. I don't think he was ever really there defensively. With all that, with all those physical gifts, I don't think he ever really played defense and committed himself there. But the ability to score was there, and you saw it early with Miami. You did see it. It's just, I think a lot of other things got in the way of his development off the floor. I think the lifestyle, NBA lifestyle, just got the best of him. There are plenty of guys with that level of talent that they don't flash as much because they couldn't adjust to the lifestyle. They couldn't handle the lifestyle. You know what I mean? Another guy. I'll give you another example. This is going to be a hot take. Anthony Edwards. People will say he can be generational. I don't believe he will be. I don't believe he will be. I don't think that he understands how to manipulate the gravity he has on the floor. We talked about this with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. I don't think he understands how to get other guys involved and get easy shots for the guys because of the attention the defense is paying to him. And beyond that, I don't think he's too young and he came into this too early, all this money and fortune, and I don't think he handles himself well off the court. And I think that it's going to prohibit him from being the true, and I know again, it's synonymous, the true face of the NBA. I don't want my face of the NBA knocking up a girl every other week and telling her to abort it, and when she don't abort it, now he's throwing hits he fit. I don't want that. And then on top of that, like, what does he do generationally well? What's unstoppable by Anthony Edwards? I've seen him get stopped. I've seen Jason Tatum get stopped. Jason Tatum gets stopped. Like the game where he had 46 points was the night against Cleveland, where they should have won. He saw them pack their bags in the second quarter, and they end up losing the game. He had like 16 points in the second half. He had 30 in the first half. He got stopped. He got stopped. And is it because they did something different defensively? I didn't watch the game with my own eyes to tell you that. But if I know Jason Tatum, I know it's because it's a mentality thing. He probably said, "All right, let me get Jaylen Brown some looks now. Like, I got to make sure he's happy." You're not the point guard. It's not your job. That's not your job. Get an actual point guard in there that distributes and gets guys shots. Your job is to continue to be dominant, and that's it. That's it. And I think that's why Kobe and Shaq, as ironic as it was that they went at each other, it worked so well because Kobe wasn't going to take the back seat, and there was Shaq. They both stayed aggressive, and it just really worked when they were together. You know what I mean? They just pissed each other off because they wanted to prove they could do it without each other. But basketball is to be played aggressively. That's the way it works. And I think that Jason Tatum can take his foot off the gas sometimes. I don't know, man. That's just my take on it. A couple of examples, but I don't think Ant's going to be generational. I don't know if people think that. I don't see it for him, to be quite honest.
Hey, I agree. Before I go say the next part, I agree with you in that regard, which we're about to go into in regards to the face of the league. When you talk about the face of the league, this is why some people might say Kobe wasn't the face of the league at one point because of the off of the court issues, the Colorado and all those type of different things of that nature. But this is what LeBron was alluding to when he said, I know it's a huge responsibility that I take on for my family, that I take on for my community, that I take on for the league. The face of the league is chosen by the people. That's one. It's not something that you decide and that you say, I'm going to be the face of the league. That's not the case. The other factor, when we mention some of these players, Anthony Edwards, SGA, not so much. And you'll see what I'm saying when I get to it. Just stick with me here. SGA. You mentioned those type of players, right? Jason Tatum. LeBron, the other aspect that people don't remember and keep in mind, as the face of the league, that has to be the person that knows how to turn on. I'm going to be in suits in my meetings. I'm going to handle my business. And also, this is why people had to debate with Steph off the court. Are you going to be able to market and represent the NBA, which is a family-friendly business, in the best light? Ant-Man, Greg just touched on it. All getting 15 people pregnant. I don't want to see the kid. All that, you can't be the face of the league. It's not happening. SGA, I don't think he's married. I think he has a baby moms. Who knows of that situation? I don't know. He has a better likely chance. Tatum, better likely chance. The off the court. LeBron has it all. Steph has it all. Certain players like that. John Morant, that's a perfect example. There's no way John Morant is going to be the face of the league. It's chosen by the people. And also, once the people choose it, the NBA will co-sign. NBA is not co-signing that. You're not representing. Like Allen Iverson was never the face of the league. He was the face of the black community. He was what Mike Vick was for the NFL. Great for the culture, not the face. Tatum, article by Michael Lee. Shout out to Michael Lee. This was on the Washington Post, I believe. Quoting Tatum right here. I did my part. After leading the Celtics in points, rebounds, and assists in the finals, it's the world we live in, and everything is narrative based. The NBA has been around for almost 80 years, and there's only 6 people to lead a team in points, rebounds, and assists to a championship. I'm the only one that didn't win finals MVP. He also mentioned when talking about the face of the league conversation, I don't really want to insert myself in things that can be debated. Did I win a championship? Yes. Did I win a gold medal? Yes. Was I part of winning seasons? Yes. Was I first team all NBA? Yes. Those things that are hard evidence. Face of the NBA, they can always debate, but it's like I check off all of the boxes. Do you feel Tatum checks all the boxes off for face of the league?
No, no. I don't even think it's close. I don't even think it's close. And it's there's multiple criteria points that we could go through. I mean, for me, he's never been the clear-cut best player in the game. Never. At any point during his time in the NBA, he has never been the clear-cut best player in the sport. Also, he does not answer the bell and when it matters the most every single time. And I shouldn't even say every single time. He hasn't had he doesn't do it most of the time. He doesn't do it to an extent where I feel comfortable calling him the face of the league or like a generational type of player. I don't feel that way. I think generational players or face of the league guys have iconic moments in big moments. Kyrie was never a face of the league guy, but he had the shot in the finals. LeBron has the block. Kobe has the championship against Orlando. Right, beating them and beating Boston as well in the finals, and he's standing on the table and pounding his chest and all that, and making fadeaways and playing with the broken fingers, and he has it. Michael Jordan, flu game, like these guys have those moments in their career that really immortalize them. You live forever in the history of the NBA. You in those textbooks and those in the Hall of Fame in Boston up there. You live forever. You live forever over there. So Jason Tatum hasn't had that. He's young, but he has not had that moment. Period. And then beyond that, the key thing here too, because Tone said it, the kids pick the face. You don't get to tell people you're the face of the NBA. And really, like the problem Jason Tatum has is he's corny. He is corny as all hell. He's corny. He's corny. Oh, we did it. We did it. Like you're corny. You're corny, and people don't rally around that. The kids don't rally around that. Your shoes are whack. They're not selling, so no one wants to buy the shoes. Like it's not like there's no swag. There's no swagger there. Like Bron has like the iconic LeBron sneakers. Like he has some stuff like in that collection. Like it was easy to gravitate towards LeBron James. LeBron James was cool. Rooting for LeBron James was cool. It was. It was. Like yeah, I think these guys all think because they have haters that it's the same. Like it's not the same. Like people hate LeBron James because he's so great, and they hate that they keep losing to him. He's down to the NBA, like 9 straight trips to the NBA Finals. You're tired of him. That's why you hate him, and then you make it about everything else. You just don't like Jason Tatum because you think he's lame. That's the reality of it. It's like it's so much about this is about branding and PR and how you handle yourself in front of the microphone. when you get those moments. He literally does, in my opinion, that's a big gap. And then face of the league, but you went to Team USA and you couldn't play over the guys over there. If you were the face of the league, you'd be playing, my boy. Like you'd be out there getting minutes, wouldn't have no conversation. You was not. You was sitting in Serbia, not getting the DNP from Steve Kerr, and you're telling me you're the face of the NBA with a straight face. No, you're not. No, you're not. And I think he threw shade at Jalen Brown in that article too. I think I read something where it was like, "Oh, I should have been Finals MVP." He might have said something crazy like that.
That's the first quote I read. If you read between the lines, that's what he's saying. He didn't directly say that, but him saying that I led the team in points, rebounds, and assists. And in finals history, nobody's ever lost the finals MVP to somebody else with those stats. And he said, it's okay, it's cool. Somebody else won it. Not Jalen Brown. He didn't name him. Somebody else won it. So you read between the lines on that one.
There's jealousy there. That thing's gonna split and fracture. I'm telling you, they can't keep those two guys together. At some point it's gonna split and fracture. I just know it is because I think the noise gets to Jason Tatum's head, right? Like he's bothered by the fact that people don't view him that way. He's like, why not? I know I'm really good. I know I think I'm great. You're not great. You're not great. I've seen teams take you out of games. I've seen you take yourself out of games, heaving up all them damn threes, right? And not getting to the free throw line, not forcing the issue, not dominating a game from start to finish as much as you should with that level of talent. There's no question that he's not the face of the NBA. And quite frankly, I don't think he ever will be. I really, really don't. I don't think he has a mental makeup for it. I know he's young and Boston fans won't like it. I can already see one guy who follows our podcast commenting under this post and telling me I'm an idiot. But the reality of it is that I just don't think he has that mental factor that you need to push yourself to that level of greatness. I just don't see it. I think he's okay with what he's doing. Like I think he's okay with where he is. I think there's a level of complacency because he's great and he's already won a championship, and he might feel like he has nothing to prove. And I think it's a lot different than what we saw with Bron. It's a different era. Like Bron, like as great as he was, like that game in Boston, Game 6, like he felt like he had something to prove, and he went. That's an iconic moment in someone's career. That's gonna live forever. They're gonna play that game on NBA TV in 50 years, in 100 years, in 200 years, right? Right? They're gonna play that game on our TVs. Our kids, our grandkids are gonna know about that. What game is Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum had like that? What game has Jason Tatum had that even rivals a game like that from LeBron James? You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't have those moments. He's not a face of the league guy. He just simply isn't. And by the way, no one's turning on their TV every night going, "Oh, is Jason Tatum playing? We gotta stop what we're doing. We not going out to dinner tonight. We gotta stay home. Jason Tatum playing tonight. Ain't nobody doing that. But guess what? Saturday, I'm gonna drive my black behind back home. I'll make sure I'm home to watch LeBron play and Luka play. I'll do that. Oh, I'll do that. I'll sit down. I'll make sure I'm seated, 100%. But I ain't doing that for Jason Tatum. Give me a break, man. Only person doing that what's his girl? The girl he with?
LMA.
LMA.
I think, and Miles, you go. And before I say what I was about to say, just for those that listen to the show and watch the show and like to nitpick, I'll give the exact quote. He said, I'm the only one that didn't win finals MVP. I'm the odd man out, and I'm okay with that. They voted for somebody else, which is cool. I can control what I can control. Whoever people want to vote for is out of my control. Which you read between the lines right there. You could have said your teammate, Jalen Brown. They voted for somebody else. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it. But to choose those words, outside of the off the court stuff, he fits the bill for a face of the league in regards of one of the main factors for face of the league is winning. And he has won and been in the finals, Eastern Conference Finals, all of those things, pretty much the entirety of his career. I see where Greg is saying, and I think that's where he lacks. And it seems like within reading the article, he doesn't understand that because he said he checks all the boxes. But I don't think that's checked, especially with the finals and everything. It wasn't original. There wasn't any originality there. So it's like maybe he could end up being the face of the league. if he gets comfortable in some way with just embracing whatever he actually is, to Greg's point, all the comments, everything on social media, which in this era plays a role in who actually is the face of the league. Everything on social media was like, that's corny, it's unoriginal, you trying to copy somebody else, it seems staged, it seems planned. That's where I think the only thing where it's holding him back. Because the winning aspect, he has the winning aspect. He says in the article also that he thinks part of it is that his game isn't flashy. I don't think that's the factor of why people view it that way.
I think
The
he's
face
just
of the leagues, the face of the leagues. You tell me if I'm wrong, though, Miles. The face of the leagues is people that won,
yeah.
and then off the court culminated with it helps. I think he just doesn't have the off the court stuff.
He has commercials. He has, like you said, the shoe deal and all that stuff. But I do think he cares too much about like comparing himself to some of the greats. When it comes down to it, I think that's why the Finals MVP bothers him because uh, I feel like we knocked Steph a little bit for never having one until the most recent one. Like, oh, you weren't the best player in the finals for the first three championships, and you don't have. It's like he wants to use that as like, okay, I'm a Finals MVP. I got a chip. I was the best player in the finals. Sure, that's one way to compare yourself to being the greats and maybe one day being the face of the league. But I think there's more. There's definitely more to it. Yeah, I mean, you guys said most of the points that I think I would have touched on, but that's all I had to say about it is that he is too worried about comparing himself to guys like Kobe, guys that he watched growing up, and checking these, like you said, check boxes, checking these boxes as he goes on. He's what 26 now, about to be 27. Um, he's still young. He's got a lot of time, but um, I mean, LeBron's been the face of the league for like 2 decades now. And in my opinion, I feel like he's still the face of the league. So um, for him to even be talking about it right now, like just wait your turn. You'll have your chance whenever LeBron's done, but
No, he won't.
it's possible.
It's like
He
Pat
won't.
Bev said. Pat Bev said it best. Whatever Bron do, we know we need to follow suit.
Hmm.
Yo, I'm gonna just say this where we wrap though. This conversation, I, like it's about how you do it. Like it's about how you do it. How do you win? How do you do? And I always bring this up, and it's the same point I made about the Eagles. It's the same thing. When you want to elevate Jalen Hurts and all that stuff, it's about how do you do it. And don't do that. Don't do that. No, Tony, you see what I'm saying though? How do you do it? So Jason Tatum gets to play on this. He plays on a phenomenal basketball team that shoots the three ball amazingly. Everyone can shoot it. He's got Jalen Brown, an outstanding player, as his running mate next to him. They've built an incredible basketball team in spite of all the salary cap implications. Second apron, first apron. They have great players surrounding him all over the place. And there are nights where he plays terrible and they still win. Guess what? If Luca played bad in that finals run last year, if Luca played bad, they're not winning the game. Kyrie can carry you in moments, but he can't do what Luca does. He cannot be your offense cannot orbit around him, and you're going to win an NBA championship, or even get a finals run out of that. It won't happen. But with a guy like Luca, yes, it can. And Luca needed to carry that basketball team to the finish line last year to get to where they got to. The style points matter. It matters in the eye of the viewer. If we're talking about the viewers get to decide who the face of the league is, how you go about getting the job done is as important as whether or not you actually get the job done. Like it's just as important. It's you know what I'm saying? Like one thing doesn't happen without the other. If you're going to talk about face of the NBA, generational player, generational attack, those things don't happen if you don't do it in a certain way. Kobe, there were moments where Kobe carried his team. Like defenses knew, like Kobe's gonna try to kill us here. We gotta load up, and he still scored. Oh, we know LeBron's gonna come down here, dribble to his right, pull up, jump shot. We gotta stop it. They couldn't stop it. Like Jason Tatum has never had a game like that. He's never had a playoff run like that. Never. Tell me I'm wrong. It's so true. He's never had a moment like that, but Luka did. I'll tell you this: Luka's closer to being face. I think the next face of the NBA is going to be Luka Doncic. I don't think it's. I really believe that, especially now that he's in LA. I think he's going to be the next face of the NBA. I used to not be able to believe that was going to be a European player. I fully believe he's going to be the face of the NBA now. I truly believe that. That's where we're headed because he's the best player in the outside best player in the sport outside of Jokic, and he's right there with Jokic. It's a 1-2 conversation. Shay's there too. 1-2-3. All right, but Luka is a guy that will carry your team to the finals. He has the marketability. He plays in Los Angeles. He's a global superstar. He's fun to watch, even though he's not athletic. He can't jump over a sheet of paper. He is fun to watch. He can score at all 3 levels, and he has the bravado. He has the swagger. He's talking trash on the court. It's not hard to sell Luca to big companies. It's not hard. It's not hard. And there's no scandal up the court. I think he's married or he has a girlfriend, a long time girlfriend. He has a kid. No scandals up the court. Besides the fact that his mom tried to take money from him, he made up with his mom. Him and his mom were good. She was at the games. That's next phase, and the NBA knows it. That's the next phase of the end. I'm telling you. But it's because he performs on the court and the way he goes about getting his business done. Jason Tatum. It's not that he's not capable of doing what I'm saying Luka did, but he's never done it. And honestly, I don't think he is capable of that. I kind of don't believe that. I don't. I don't think he's the level of offensive talent that Luka is. I really don't believe that. I'm sorry. Luka's a better player. He's a better passer. He's a better understanding and IQ of the game than Jason Tatum does. And that's not the Jason Tatum's a phenomenal player, but it's not the same. There are levels. He's not on that level. In my opinion, he's not. He's not on the Jokic level or Luka level. And Shea is debatable. Fair. That's what I think.
I think to close this off though, because we really could go on
We can
all
go
day,
forever on this.
all day with this. I think it is definitely going to be between Luca and SGA because SGA has all of the on the court
Mhm.
and everybody in the league, fans, who got the most aura? They be talking about SGA. SGA got it on the court and off the court. So I think it'll be between those two. And you could see something kind of like what was the situation kind of, had a debate when it was Kobe and Bron, when Bron was coming up and Kobe was doing the 81 points and all of that. I think we might see something similar like that. And mentioning LeBron, like Miles said, still the face of the league. I think it's safe to say still the face of the league. And he is having a crazy run, specifically since turning 40. Check the numbers. Since turning 40, 26 and a half points, 55% field goal per shooting, 43 from the 3-point, 8.3 rebounds, 8.1 assists. His last MVP season, which is wild that it's been this long. 2012-2013 season. Remember the numbers I just told you. 26.8 points. 0.3 points better that MVP season. He's shooting 4% better from the field. He shot 51% that MVP season. 35 from 3. He's shooting 43 right now. 7 rebounds, 7 assists. What are your thoughts watching 40-year-old LeBron still play at this high of a level?
He could play until he doesn't care about the game anymore. Like if he played until 46, I feel like he could still play at like 90% of this level right here. Like he's that good mentally. Um, for this team to be in the second spot of the Western Conference with everything that they've dealt with this year with the AD circus, and now you're bringing on Luca, which that's the best midseason trade of all time. Um, but LeBron at 40 to be doing what he's doing, and this is when he was supposed to be taking a step back. But I feel like he's taking on more of a heavier load for this team to help them win. And this team can win with this team as constructed. Like they've brought in pieces. Um, so I think he won what Western Conference Player of the Month for February. I mean, what can you say? Like this is LeBron James. He never ceases to amaze with what he can do. Like every time you're thinking that he's going to slow down, he's doing this. And the playoffs are about to start. You know he's going to show up in the playoffs. You know. I want to see what him and Luca are going to do in the playoffs. That's the biggest draw for me. But LeBron is top five player in the league right now, in my opinion. I think he's still top five in the league. Um, Defense is still on par, maybe even a little better than what we've seen over the last few years, and I don't really see that stopping. So maybe he's more motivated with his son on the sideline. So uh, that's a possibility too. He's playing great because he's trying to show Bronny this could be you in a few years.
Greg, what's the ceiling for Bron this year when we talk about award season? I've seen talks of him. He should be getting MVP love, an all NBA team. Some have even gone as far as saying an all defensive team, even though it's more so as of late, this stretch, he obviously feels rejuvenated to actually play defense and whatnot. But I think that's more of a team effort. The team has been playing great defense and is a number one rated team. And that's shout out to JJ Redick and the schemes that they're coming up with. I wouldn't go as far as putting him on an all defensive team because we got to look at the entirety of the season. But when we talk about the 82 games, the 82nd game is played, they passed the awards out. What awards are you giving Bron this year for this season?
First team All NBA for LeBron. I don't think there's much of a debate. I put him first team All NBA. The team is 8-1 or 7-1. It's one of the two. Without Luca or AD, without his running mate,
Eight
it's
and
eight and
one.
one. 8-1. And LeBron's played every one of those games. LeBron, I don't think he's missed a back-to-back this season. I saw, I mean, this is not a lifetime achievement award we're talking about. It's talking about this year, but I think I saw a stat. It was like out of all back-to-backs in his career, he's played 301 back-to-backs out of 355 possible opportunities to play back-to-backs. He's played 301 of them. Oh, like, I'm running out of words to describe how great this guy is. I am, and someone played a JJ Redick clip because they're gonna say I'm glazing. I'm running out of words to describe how great this guy is. It really doesn't make sense. And eh, you know, I can't stand Stephen A. Smith, but he went on TV today or yesterday and said something that really resonated with me. And it was, we shouldn't even be having this debate about Michael Jordan versus LeBron anymore. Like, no matter what side of the aisle you stand on, I actually kind of think it's disrespectful to LeBron to be having this debate about who's better between the two guys. 50,000 career points. 50,000 career points. You don't get to 50,000 career points by sticking around and just like hunting for points and like getting meaningless buckets. When you get 50,000 points at any level, you got to be playing for a long time, stay incredibly healthy, be blessed, be incredibly healthy, not get hurt, and be playing meaningful basketball. It takes a lot of games, a lot of high pressure games, and performing in those games to get to that point. He's the model of just consistency, period. But going back to your point, going back to like that, I could wax poetic. I won't do that. It MVP conversation for sure. I think if not a runner up for sure, I think he's like second in the conversation. I think he'd overtake one of Jokic or Shea. You have to look at what he's done for that basketball team. And I think Jokic has had an incredible season, greatest offensive season of all time. I always hear that. I love hearing that. It was Harden, now it's him. Now he's having okay, fine. Greatest statistical offensive season of all time. I just think with everything that's happened in LA, all the turmoil in terms of early in the season having D'Angelo Russell be there and throwing up shots off the side of the backboard and all this stuff, him talking about I need the ball in my hands, the dysfunction. to get them through that tumultuous time in the season, have them be 3 games above 500, right? Around the time they actually made the trade for Luca, and then to integrate Luca so seamlessly and still be playing at such a high level. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like everyone's like, oh, they can't both have the ball in their hands. LeBron don't need the ball in his hands. He can do anything you want him to do. He's the ultimate Swiss Army knife. For him to have adjusted the way he did, I just think it warrants so much MVP consideration. I think that you have to put him over one of the two guys, and it's hard to do that because Jokic and Shea meet your conventional definition of what MVP is, but LeBron has been so great this season in a tough place to be great. Not everyone's great in LA. We all know that. Look at Malik Beasley now. He made about 2 threes when he was acquired by the Lakers his whole time there, and now he's over in Detroit. He's the best 3-point shooter in the NBA. Some guys can't handle that. And LeBron, we're past that with LeBron James, but he is thriving in it, thriving under the pressure like he has his entire career at the advanced age of 40. I would argue that what LeBron James is doing at 40 years old is more important is more impressive than anything that Jokic is doing this year or Shea. I would argue that LeBron James' performance at 40 years old is more impressive than anything that you're seeing from Shea or Jokic this year. So for me, he'd have my MVP vote. And yes, I'm biased, no doubt about it. But I mean it. Like at 40 to be doing this, it's just absurd. And he can win a championship this year. You know what I'm saying? Here, Miles go. Here, Miles go. But that's what it is, though. Like I really believe that like he's defying the odds. He's defying the way the humans work. Like this is not supposed to be happening. And he's dominant at 40. Dominant. Never been better in certain categories, like Tone went over there so well. So yeah, I think he deserves certainly MVP runner up or the award outright, which I think he could win in a close race because he's been that great if they keep going like this.
I think I heard some podcasts mention this, and I listened to too many, so I can't remember which one it was. But what they should probably really do, honestly, at some point, and they weren't saying Bron should be MVP, but they were saying in general that they should change it to an Offensive Player of the Year award and MVP be two separate awards. Because when you look at, you just mentioned like Jokic, yeah, great offensive season. MVP, it all depends, which is the issue, and we've talked about it in the show, and I'm not going to dive back into it, which is the issue specifically in the NBA. You have 40, 50 voters, and they all got a different definition of what MVP is. Bron should definitely get some MVP love. We've talked about it on the episode. We opened the episode speaking on generational players. We looked at it in the scope mainly of the NBA, but looking at the NFL aspect, some would say this guy, Travis Hunter from Colorado, would fall under the category as a generational talent coming into the NFL. What do y'all see as his ceiling as a prospect coming into the NFL? And as of right now, he still says that he wants to be able to play both sides of the football. Teams are saying that he actually is best suited at wide receiver. What's the ceiling for Travis Hunter?
I feel like he could be an all-pro either side of the ball, like receiver, corner. But I feel like at some point you got to focus on one. Like, sure, the versatility is the biggest draw for him. Is you can make the most money that way. Like I play both sides, sure, but college is a little different than the NFL. Like you can't be gassed towards the end of the game going against Jamar Chase or something like that. One of these other guys, like you're gonna have to. I feel like at some point pick one. I think he's a better. He has a chance to be a better receiver. Like he could be a top 5 receiver in the league. I just think he's never had a chance to really fully learn a route tree and all that stuff. But the sudden movements and the speed and the hands, like they all scream like superstar receiver, like a mix of like a Justin Jefferson. Like I see shades of that in his game too. So I'm hoping I'm wrong, and like he's able to have a great career playing both sides, but um, I feel like it's gonna be tough. Like he's not that big either, so like these guys are a lot stronger. These are men now. This is not like 18, 19 year olds you're going against. Derrick Henry, you tackling him in the hole if he's coming at you full speed? I don't think so. That's the end of your season right there. So, like at some point, he's gonna have to make a decision, make a pick. Like right now, it's cool. Like I'm gonna keep going with the gimmick for right now because I won the Heisman. I did it in college. I'm gonna try to do it in the pros. Once it falls apart, you got to pick one. But he can be an all-pro wide receiver once he learns the nuances, and same thing at corner.
Um, I think Miles hit the nail on the head. I do think that ultimately his best position in the NFL is going to be cornerback, because I just think his instincts in zone are nearly unmatched by any other prospect I've ever seen play corner. I think he understands route combinations. He understands what he's looking at offensively because he plays on that side of the ball. So he can identify routes really quick, and he's quick enough to even where if he gets beat, he can catch up. His get back speed is crazy. So it is recovery speed is insane. So I really think that cornerback is where he'll make the most of his money in the league, and that's not to slight him as an offensive player. He could play the receiver position and be an all pro a couple times. But I think the difference is he could be an all pro every single year playing corner. I think that's the difference. I think there are guys who are more technically sound than him at the wide receiver position. And they have the mixture of like all the talent, like Jamar and the Justin Jeffersons and the Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomases, those guys, Garrett Wilson, like those guys. So that's the difference. I think he would be in that area, right, but probably a little bit below them. I think as a corner, he could be the best corner in the NFL within the first year, playing all the snaps on that side of the football. So that's the difference. I just think he's an incredible athlete. He's got great hands, and there's no catch he can't make at that position. He'd be a weapon. And by the way, there ain't no corners in the NFL going in the hole and tackle Derrick Henry, anyways. As a matter of fact, I'm not paying you to do that. Stay the hell out the hole. Don't even do that. Just go out there and do what I ask you to do. Play in that zone and take that receiver out the game. Do that. I don't know if he'll travel in the NFL, but I think he has the athletic ability to do so as well.
Looking at the draft, right? Which is the best fit for him? He's projected to go in the top 3. Which of those teams, whether he's wide receiver, DB, however you see him, is the best fit for Travis?
He's such a gifted player. Don't. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad you didn't get that off. But I think any of those teams could have, because I don't want you speaking that nonsense into the air. Like, God, I rebuke it. Stop. Like, I
Don't you guys need a corner? You just talked him up. Said he could be an all pro right off the bat. Deontay Banks ain't it. I'm not gonna say he's a bum, but he's not it. Travis Hunter, you just said he could be an all pro right off the bat. You guys need a corner. So I know this is your worst nightmare talking to you, but
no,
it could happen if it's
No, here's what I'll say. I think he's a fit to go to any 3 of those teams. He's that talented. He's a generational player. It don't matter where you go. He's gonna be great no matter where you go. He is the infrastructure around him doesn't really matter. He's not a quarterback. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be great no matter where he goes. He's gonna be an all pro no matter where he goes, as long as he stays healthy. That's the big thing. So that's it. But if we're talking about like you talk about the Giants, like as a fit for him, and they need a corner. Yeah, they need a corner. Every team needs a corner in the NFL. That's not the pick for them. Cam Ward is the answer there. So we'll have to wait to see what happens with that. But he can go anywhere, Tone. I mean, that's the honest answer. He's just Travis Hunter is that gifted. Is that gifted? Yeah, all right. You're the guy you think is a 2nd-round pick right away. You want to talk about that?
He got the cleats already, so I mean,
Fedor, man. I saw a heat map for Shedeur Sanders of showing where most of his successful throws were in the NFL in college football. It's all on the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little scary.
Why you think Cam said that? If he wasn't lying, he was.
It's a little scary.
You can see on the highlights that he's a screen merchant.
Griff
Wait till
Griff said it. Griff said it. If any of y'all 4,000 comments actually go and watch this episode, y'all was asked, oh, what game was he watching? What game were you watching?
No,
Why
for
do you
real.
think
I
he
mean,
didn't? Why do you think he didn't do anything at the combine? He would
like
look less than against some of those quarterbacks out there. So yeah, it was smart. It was a business.
he couldn't look
decision.
less than Will Howard looked to those guys. I don't
Okay,
know
we're
that it was
gonna
any
name
good
the bottom of
competition.
the bottom. I'm not gonna talk about Dart and some of these other guys who actually
Dart was
did
cool.
well.
Was Dart great? Was Dart great?
Okay, yeah, that's right. Talk them up. Talk them down.
Dart,
I mean,
I don't think I don't know that Dart was great, and yeah, I'm not like a big Dart guy. I'm just not. But what I'll say is with him, I think he would have done fine in that setting. I think he would have thrown the ball well. It won't pop out of his arm. It never does, but he has more than enough arm to make the throws in the NFL. I just worry because like the second reaction throws, like when you don't realize it's open right away, and then you see the window, like on like your second progression or whatever. Like I don't think he can. I don't think he has the arm strength to make that throw. That's the problem. Like to make it quick. Oh my god. Oh, it's right there. Boom. I gotta get rid of it. I don't think he has the arm strength, and you don't have to if you have great anticipation with your throws. But I don't. I didn't see that a lot from him in college. I saw him throwing the ball to really good athletes and picking apart defenses. But Shermer runs an offense that really simplifies the game for his quarterbacks too. So there are some red flags and concerns as well. I think that Cam has the arm to make a second reaction throw. I think Cam can do that. I think Cam can make anticipatory throws too. Not that Shador can't. I don't think he really was asked to do that in college. I didn't see a whole lot of it. I saw a little bit more of it from Cam. So I have my worries about Shador, but like again, like if you just like literally snap your head around, and you see the guy's open, but he's heading into that second window. You have to make the throw quick before the corner bites down on it. Can you get the ball in there and beat the corner with the ball? I don't think he has that ability, Shador, because he doesn't have the arm strength.
well, unlike Greg, I'm rooting for Shador to make it in the NFL.
Here you go. Here you go.
We didn't get to talk about it last week because Shador and Cam dominated the conversation, but Deebo Samuels was traded for a 5th round pick. This trade, is this a bigger move for the Commanders culture wise or talent wise?
Talent. I think it's talent. I don't think Debo's a bad guy, but I also think he ran himself out of San Fran by complaining about targets and stuff. So
He ate his way out of San Fran.
well, yeah, he mentioned it. He said he got up to like 225, which is
He was
pretty.
thick.
That's solid. That's a running back right there. So I know he didn't want those snaps, but you know that they're going to use him there at some points. He's a weapon. What else can you say? That's why San Fran took him. He's been an All Pro before. He's pretty good receiver when he's fit, but as the number 2 behind Terry, that's a great number 2 right there. I think that's going to help Jaden next year. He's also a guy who you can throw it to him short, and he's strong enough to run through arm tackles. So this is a guy who, if it's not there, like if Terry's not there deep, Debo's going to be right over the middle. So I think this raises the talent level significantly in that receiving room, and I mean you're doing whatever you can to help your second year quarterback coming into the next season after they made the NFC Championship game with the roster as constructed. So this is only going to help them. They're going to get better from this. Is it enough to compete with teams like the Lions and the Eagles? We'll see. They did get a lot of luck their way. So let's see what happens next season.
Their struggles weren't offensive. The struggles were in the trenches, in my opinion. So go get D linemen. I mean, you want to go add icing, which is what Debo is, and go do that. But the NFL has proven to you that if you're good in the trenches, that's what the Eagles do. It's what the Eagles do. They dominate the trenches. They have an all-pro. They have a bunch of all-pros in the offensive line, a bunch of all-pros in their defensive line. Who are they rumored to be going after this year in trade talks? Myles Garrett. Howie Roseman is in our faces, just telling us what it is and what it is to win in this league and what it looks like. It's not about all the auxiliary pieces like wide receiver. He's actually done it. He's done it regardless of who his quarterback is. They look good with no matter who's behind center of that team because they literally stack the trenches. It's what they do with all pro guys. They get great players to play in the trenches. They are more physical than you. They punch you in the mouth and they bully you. That's what the Eagles do. So go add Debo. That's fine. He's great. He's great. DC got a lot of great food. Chocolate City. We'll see how he holds up. But I'll tell you this. They need to work on the trenches. The trenches is where they're going to make their money at. Trenches is where they're going to make their real ascension as a football team. Protect Jaden Daniels, run the football, be able to run the football, gash up all other defensive lines, and be able to stop the run and rush the passer. You want to win games, win championships, do that. Do that. Then Pat Mahomes, Debo Samuel wouldn't have won Pat Mahomes that Super Bowl. That wasn't going to solve his problem. Unless Debo Samuel's, maybe he got 350 pounds, he could play offensive tackle or guard. If he ain't that heavy, then he can't do that either. So it's about protecting your quarterback and running the football. That's all I'm gonna say.
Speaking of trenches and protecting your quarterback, ending off the show with this, y'all let me know your thoughts on these transactions specifically, and we'll touch on all of the. It's too many to try to touch on. We'll see where some of these players land and possibly move, and we'll talk about destinations for the players like a Devontae Adams. We talk about Joey Bosa being released, Darius Slay. We'll talk about all those names next week. But specifically talking about protecting your quarterback, the Bears are trading a 2026 4th-round pick to the Chiefs for Pro Bowl offensive line Joe Thuney, and they also got and trade offensive lineman Jonah Jackson from the Los Angeles Rams. Thoughts on Ryan Poles' move so far this offseason to protect that man, Caleb Williams?
I think he knows in order to save his job, Caleb's got to be upright back there. You got Ben Johnson in there, and his offense can work if the quarterback has time to throw. So you bring in an all-pro like Joe Thuney, you bring in Jonah Jackson. That's a good start. They're not done yet, though. They got more work to do. But yeah, that's for a 4th-round pick. I know that's definitely the Chiefs just shedding salary because they've got no money right now. But I mean, this is what teams do. You swoop in and take money off of other teams' hands. Like, that's a great player that they just got. And were they going to be able to sign a guy like that in free agency? Probably not. So a 4th-round pick. Is that 4th-round pick going to be as good as Joe Thuney? Maybe, maybe not, but not currently. That's not going to help you right now. So it's a great trade by Ryan Poles. I'm interested to see what the Bears do this offseason because there was a lot of hype coming into the season last year. Could they make the playoffs? Caleb Williams, generational. So hopefully they move through the offseason a little quieter than last year.
Why would you trade? Why, if you can't keep Patrick Mahomes upright and you lose the Super Bowl because you can't keep him on his feet, why would you trade an all-pro tackle, guard, and Tooney?
Because they have draft picks.
No, that's not it. I think they know something about this guy that we don't. I think he's going to go and crap the bed in Chicago, and he's going to get hurt.
I don't think
or
that's
something like that. We don't. There's a red flag somewhere. It's very Bears. It's very Chicago to trade for a guy who was great somewhere else, and for him to come there and be terrible. It's not out of the realm. So I'm just saying, I don't know why they would do that unless they pull one over on them. That's all I'm saying. Why would you do that? They're smart. We know they're a smart organization. They make good decisions. We ain't talking about no bottom of the barrel team. Why would they make a decision like that?
Because they have no money. They don't have any money right now to allocate because they still got to sign the tackle.
Trey Smith. They're going to franchise tag him in hopes of trying to get a long-term deal done. So Could have been just money.
Well, the Eagles don't seem to worry about money. They're spending money left and right. Well, why you worry about money? They're not. Other teams can manipulate the cap, and they're not doing it. I don't want to hear it. I don't believe that. If Tony was like that, if Tony was amazing, he would still be there. That's all I'm gonna say. If Tony was amazing, he would still be there.
Because not every team can run the way the Eagles can. Because Jeffrey Lowry is more open to spending money, and he's more open to shedding money on the books for some of these guys. Some of these organizations don't run that way. They similar to the Yankees. The Yankees aren't doing what they used to because they've got investors. They got people to pay. Like there's other people you got to pay for these things.
That's what it is.
But the Eagles, they got a different system. Not everybody can do that system. The Chiefs, they could try, but I just don't think they can afford to pay a guard $80 million and then throw $100 million at Trey Smith this offseason.
They can afford it. It's cheap.
Based off of PFF, I'm just looking real quick. He was first last year in regards of he did not actually allow a sack. He only had one penalty.
Tooney,
yeah. 82 pass blocking grade. They gave him 73 run blocking grade. So it might have been really a situation where it was money and they're going to try to go draft or they're going to move somebody. They might just be blowing up the whole offensive line, honestly, because the year that they actually won, if y'all remember, they pretty much came in with a whole new offensive line after that year with the Bucks. So they might go that route again. They're going to keep Trey Smith and then bring in a whole 4 new set. Hey, you got to hold up Patrick Mahomes. Speaking of the Eagles, though, Zach Bond, we've talked about it on this show. He signed a 1 year. Now he gets rewarded for his play. A 3-year, $51 million contract with $34 million guaranteed. Only way that happens is because Zach Bond stayed ready, so he didn't have to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.